drama of the previous. We got a quick answer. It was close all night. Now we're going to pick it up just under 5 minutes to go in the game. Pacers leading by 2, and the Pacers going to turn defense into offense. And Jay will look at the pass here from Tyrese Halliburton.
Just great hands by Pascal Siakam, and then in transition running the floor, and he was critical down the stretch in the game.
Pacers up by 4. Now we're 3 minutes to play. Al Horford, up and down night for him, Allen, but he knocks this one down.
Yeah, he needed that one, but he had struggled from three-point range in this game. He was 3 of 12. It's got to be better.
Scored 15. Now it's Andrew Nembhard on the other side. He knocks down a shot. He had big shots down the stretch. Pacers are up by 3. 39 seconds to play now. Celtics inbounding, down by 3. They would have opportunities, Austin Rivers, all night long, and Jason Tatum so much of the night could not get them to fall.
No, this is a game where Indiana literally gave the game away.
What are you rushing for?
Where's he going?
These mistakes that cost you, man.
Inexplicably racing it up the floor in a moment where all you want is to get fouled. Then we're coming down the other way. Celtics still alive. There's a miss. Here comes another great opportunity for Tatum. And he can't get it to go. And so the Pacers have the ball, and it looks like they're just going to run it out. Celtics had fouls to give, so down it goes. They're inbounding the ball. 10 seconds left. They have a timeout left, Allen, and instead they do that.
They get something, inexperience from Nembhard. The head coach tried to take the blame here, saying we had the timeout, we should have used it. But a lot of issues here in execution.
And so that would lead to this. You cannot give up a 3. Mike Green.
Tatum trying to get free. Throw it in the corner. Brown fakes, fires up the 3. Bang! Bang! Jaylen Brown knocks down the 3 to tie the game. Timeout, Indiana.
Unbelievable. The legendary double bang from Mike Green, and worth every syllable. What a shot from Jaylen Brown. How did they let him get it off? We're going to debate it all night long. Meanwhile, we're tied at 117. Now here's Halliburton. What was the play at the end of regulation?
It didn't seem like there was a play at the end of regulation. He had an ISO at the top and decided to take it off.
Oh.
And Jason Tatum just went off in overtime.
Yes, how many ways did they give this game away? And then, as you say, this was a night where Tatum would have been the GOAT, and I don't mean that in the good way. Instead, Jay, he does take over in the overtime.
He had 10 points in overtime and just found a way. And you know, Indiana just gave this one away. Just critical issues down the stretch. Another turnover. I understand ball pressure, but there's really no ball pressure there. Yeah. That's on him.
22 turnovers for the Pacers on the night. And then here's Tatum. Again, he didn't have a huge night, but in the end, he finishes with 36 points, 12 rebounds, took over the overtime. 40 seconds remaining. Pacers have the ball, have one more chance, and typically, or appropriately for the way this game went, they turn it over. Halliburton at 25, Holiday at 28. Celtics win an absolute classic in game 1. And after all, everyone was talking about was that finish.
The 3 that you made to tie it and to send it to overtime, just what was the play?
It's the playoffs. We drew up a play, and it was perfectly executed. I told Drew I was going to be open in the corner, and I was, and I knocked it down. So it went exactly how we planned it.
This loss is totally on me. With 10 seconds in regulation, we should have just taken the timeout, advanced the ball, and found a way to get it in and made a free throw or 2 and ended the game.
Was there instruction to foul before that Brown 3, even though there wasn't really a chance to do so?
Yes, but he caught the ball and he was faced up, so Pascal decided to lay off, which was, I understand, that's probably the right decision. You don't want to give up a 4-point play. So, look, a lot of things had to go wrong for us and right for them. They did. And so, we got to own it, and we got to get ready for Thursday.
Okay, so much to unpack here. And watching the game, the king, LeBron James, was just like all the other fans saying, and you all still want to know why I would foul up 3 every single time. He said it. I said it. Everyone sitting in their homes said it.
It's wrong.
Wrong. Well, let's start with this.
That's wrong in that particular situation.
Yeah, watching that back, I now take back what we talked about.
Meaning what?
Because watch, when he catches the ball, he head fakes. So as he's head faking, if you're fouling me, I'm going into my shot motion. That's it. I'm going to the free throw line.
If you're not going to foul before the ball comes into his hands, if he's facing up towards the basket, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
As soon as you go to foul, the guy's going to raise up and shoot.
If you watch it in slow mo, this is not Philadelphia like Tyrese Maxey, he's bringing the ball down the court. It's a completely different situation.
See, like he's shot right there.
They don't.
But he's got the ball down.
No, he's head faking. He's about to. He's head faking. By the way,
right there.
Let me show you something.
Yeah.
Stand up for a second.
Go ahead.
Give us the camera for a second, please. If I catch the ball and I'm facing, I'm having go to foul me. Oh, I'm in my shot motion. I'm going to the free throw line.
That shot off.
I'm going. It doesn't matter if I get it off. I'm going to the free throw line. I'm faced up.
He has the size to be able to contest that and make sure the ball doesn't even get up in the air.
I'm just saying that's a different situation. Like I hear what LeBron is saying, but in that situation, at that split second,
the code red was called foul. That was what they were told. That's what they all said.
So as you can tell, we're all leaping out of our seats to get at this thing here. Here's the play. This is the play that is going to live forever in your life.
Run him over.
So you're telling me there was no opportunity there. In your view, Siakam in that situation does the right thing not taking the foul there.
Yes, because right now, first off, they should have switched. I don't know why they didn't switch here.
Yes.
So he's lagging behind the play, and already Jaylen Brown is into his shot motion.
Of an incredible finish to regulation. How would you sum up what happened?
That the Indiana Pacers had a legendary choke job in the last minute of the game. Like it's, you could sit up there and people can say, well, look at the free throw discrepancy, but I can go through the last minute of the game. The rush shot with 16 seconds left on the shot clock by Tyrese Halliburton. Him turning the ball over with 30 seconds left to go, pushing the pace. When there was no need for him to push the pace, he should have slowed down the game considering they had a 3-point lead. Even to the inbound pass. Why wasn't TJ McConnell the guy throwing the inbound pass? Yeah. He's your leader. By the way, everybody knows as a guard, if you're having the ball on the sideline out of bounds, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. When I get to 3 Mississippi, if I start feeling pressured, instead of trying to thread the needle, if I have a timeout to burn, timeout. And then on the last possession, why not just switch? We can watch that play over and over and over. That's TJ McConnell. That's a little wrap screen around. He flares. They don't switch. Pascal then trails the play, and that's when he gets into the corner for a wide open three. You switch that. Yeah. You switch everything. You know they're going for a three. You can give up a 2.
Yeah, there's a code word for that, too, that probably McConnell has to yell out, and then they know to switch, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they switched that, he probably would have been able to foul, before he even gets in a shot position. But because he's 2 seconds behind, by the time he gets the ball, or by the time he gets to him in the corner, he's already facing up at the basket. Every player's trained. They know guys are trying to foul at this moment. They're looking for it. I mean, that's why he even put his hands down there, because he didn't even want to risk even getting anything, which ends up being counterproductive because now he gets a free three. The easiest three in basketball is a corner three. So I know that shot looked incredibly difficult, but Jaylen Brown's just shooting a patent fadeaway in the corner with no hand up in his face.
There are so many ways. The old expression, let me count the ways. The number of ways the Pacers gave this game away. You just did a good job, Jay, of sort of rattling off one after another after another. But what they all add up to me, is they just didn't look ready for this moment. They had Boston dead to rights in their own building, and particularly Tyrese Halliburton. Where's he going? I mean, you've got the ball, you've got the lead. They're going to foul you. Let them foul you. You don't need to race up the court there. You don't need to score. You need to run as much clock as you can, get fouled, and win the game at the free throw. This is the play I'm talking about. There's 30 seconds left with the lead. Does he not know the score?
Well, sometimes your biggest strength is also your biggest weakness, right? That's the pace that Indiana plays at, but there's no need in end-of-game situation in regulation. He's got to be strong with the rock. Like, it was that turnover. There was also the turnover in overtime. People can sit there all day long and talk about Jrue Holiday and the pressure. That was just a careless turnover in OT by Tyrese Halliburton.
And that, in the biggest moment. But what you said, let's go back to what you said at the very beginning of the take, and that is that they choked this game away. I mean, if Halliburton wanted to wear a hoodie for this game with Reggie Miller on it, this was the game to wear it. It was more appropriate. But the reality is, this is what you now are concerned with for the other Pacers, because they've been resilient. They've bounced back. We'll see what they do in this series. But as we said yesterday, the Celtics give you a game at home. They do. You see their home playoff record over the last couple of years. They'll give you one. That was the game. If you're the Pacers, that was the game. Did you just give away the one game you could get to get back home court advantage?
We'll get to the big picture on it like that in a minute. I want to say a little picture here. We heard Rick Carlisle after the game say, this one is completely on me. How much of what happened last night, in your mind, Austin, was on the coach?
There was definitely some blame to be going around. I think everybody gets a little bit of part of last night. Halliburton's turnovers, obviously Nembhard threw the ball away. He shouldn't have been taking the ball out in the first place. They had a timeout. They didn't get a foul off when they were down 3.
This is the play that we're talking about here.
Easy
okay?
timeout.
So you're saying the two things they get wrong are, why is Nembhard inbounding the ball instead of McConnell?
Not that he can't. He's just the experience there is not there. So you don't want to put a guy like that in a position, because they end up panicking like this and they throw the ball. He's running full speed towards the baseline. That's a tough pass. Even if you would have caught that, you probably would have traveled.
Right.
I mean,
So that's a disaster. And then they have a timeout remaining. And that's the part of this I will never understand. They've got a timeout remaining. Just turn to the referee and put your hands together like this. You will also get to advance the ball.
Halliburton's got to go get the ball. Halliburton's got to go get the ball, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're the best player of the team, like I don't care how you got to get it done. I'd rather you get an offensive foul from trying to get the ball so hard. Put somebody on your hip and call for the ball. You know what I mean? Like there were so many factors that went into them throwing that game that game away last night. It was frustrating watching it because they played such a good game. Yeah, and how many times did the Celtics have this team down where they'd go up 10, go up 11, and they just let them come back? They just were so resilient. Naismith had a great game. You just alluded to it. I don't know if you come back in game 2 and can compete at this level because this was the game for them to win. And this was the game where I thought they played great basketball and could still win at home. Look at their starting lineup. Everybody played well down the line. Miles Turner shooting the hell out the ball from 3. Everybody's chipping in. They got great bench production. Again, McConnell wore out Peyton Pritchard.
To that microcosm for a second. So every great coach will tell you that the point guard on the floor is an extension of the coach on the sideline, right? So, yes, I think there's a lot of blame that will go on Rick Carlisle as the head coach and also Tyrese Halliburton as the extension of the coach on the floor. There are little things that you know when things start to get tight that you have to be the leader, the de facto leader on the floor. And I think there were a lot of mishaps, inbound plays with TJ McConnell. That's on Rick Carlisle. That's also on Tyrese Halliburton, not going to get the ball, not trying to thread the needle, like thinking through the game. When you play fast, when you're used to incredible amount of volume of possessions per game, sometimes it hinders your ability to think through the game because you're used to playing fast. Yeah. And this is what we're talking about, the inexperience of Indiana down the stretch on the road, thinking through the game, late stretches.
Halliburton had a good general. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he had a good night, but the mistakes at the end absolutely killed them.
Yeah, and Carlisle now handled the post game much like he handled the first 2 games in the previous series, where down 0-2, he went into a whole speech post game about small market needs a chance. He took all the pressure off his team. He knew this is a young team. This is their first kind of real experience in the playoffs. And what he did was change the narrative. Instead of it being about his team coming up small, it was different. And it allowed his team to sort of not have to take all the pressure on themselves for what they failed to do. And then they came back and won that series, and they did so by showing resiliency. I think he did the same thing after this game. I think he recognized my guys melted down. Like, my guys made some mistakes. We looked inexperienced at the end of this game. And with that in mind, he once again put it on himself. This is on me. I made mistakes. And he's trying to take the pressure off his team so they're not feeling it. They're not feeling the blame. He's the one taking the blame.
I think that is true. I think that is what he's doing. He's also right. He does get a lot of the blame for this. The fact that they don't call a timeout in that situation, when you have a timeout and Siakam is running, to your point, at full speed in the wrong direction, where even getting the ball in bounds, that's what the Celtics are begging you to do.
They would have trapped him if you would have.
They have him dead to rights in the corner. The coach at that point has to either call the timeout or have instructed him, if you don't have what we want, call the timeout. We're going to get to move the ball. Everything in the world goes wrong. That makes no sense.
You're at 3 Mississippis, and we all know this on the sideline. Your coaches are typically watching the count from the refs.
Yeah. And we're not saying something either. They called a timeout before that. Why are they inbounding the ball right there? They called timeout before this play.
Yeah.
So if you call timeout, you can move the ball up. Why are they inbounding the ball right there?
We'll look into that. I'm not 100% sure of what that is, but the larger point is, if he definitely has a timeout remaining in his pocket at that point, and if there was ever a situation that called for one, that was it.
I do want to say something, because I know we're going to talk about Indiana throwing the game away. But shout out to Jaylen Brown to have the composure, the turn face, to give you that head fake. I'm telling you, that head fake, I know it's smaller and people at home may not recognize that, but that ability to turn face, that puts the defense in such a precarious situation. Because if you reach your hand in, I'm going up through my shot motion, I'm going to the free throw line. Ballsy play by him and a huge shot to send this game into overtime.
It's amazing that he's the one that got the ball in that situation, too.
Isn't it?
Isn't it? First guy over there should have been Jason Tatum with a big hug. Thank you, because you saved me from being the topic of conversation today.
So now let's go back to the bigger picture question that we just brought up here. You have a text?
Text by Himbo saying Indiana is the first team in recorded history to lose a playoff game with the ball up 3 in the final 10 seconds. No team loses that game ever.
No, I mean,
first team.
That puts us right where we want to be in this conversation, which is I can see this going one of two ways. And Rick Carlisle, who is going to the Hall of Fame as a coach,
yes,
you made the point. He pushed all the right psychological buttons in that previous series against the Knicks. After Game 2, I think he pushed the right psychological buttons with his locker room talking about the small market. After Game 5, I thought he pushed the right psychological buttons, challenging his guys. You were out physical, you were out hustled, all that stuff, and they responded in a huge way. So he has the challenge here now to make sure his locker room doesn't feel like what you just said, which is that was our shot and we blew it. The flip side of that is we're just as good as they are. We are right there with them in their own building. Which way do you think it is? You as an observer, not as someone there.
Yeah, no.
Do you think this was their shot and they blew it? Or do you think this was proof the Pacers can absolutely play with them?
Listen, at some point we got to start giving Indiana credit. It seems like every time they do something well, we're just like throwing a reason of why it happened, and it's usually regarded as the other team making mistakes. The Pacers can play basketball, man.
Right.
They got a talented team. They have depth. They have guys that can come off the bench and change the game. They have a point guard who pushes the pace that's very hard for a team to play at. We talk about why the Pacers kept coming back in the game. It was the pace. Every time that the Celtics got control of this game, they just kept running the ball down their throat to the point where they would just come back, have a couple easy points, a couple turnovers here. Next thing you know, it's a three-point game. They're very resilient. They're well coached, and like you said, Greeny, they're very confident right now. They're highly confident. If anything, I know they lost that game and tricked it off, but they have to go in the locker room at some point yesterday, look around like, yo, we can beat these guys. They're not invincible. They're vulnerable. And this is at home. We all know what the Pacers do at their home.
Yeah.
They haven't lost for quite a while. Yeah.
They haven't lost a home game since March 18th.
11 straight.
So which is it? Was this the shot that they had and they didn't get it? Or was this proof that this is absolutely a dogfight in this series and could go 7 games?
I feel like this was the shot because, as I mentioned before, the Celtics give you a game in their building. It's for some reason that's what they do. They had that rust excuse of not playing for a week while the Pacers were coming right out of a fight, and they were still pretty much ready for it and ready for playing at a playoff level. Because I don't think the Celtics, by the way, had a terrible game. They did not play well overall in this game, and yet they escaped with a win. So you let them get away with a win despite not playing their best game. But this feels like a missed opportunity, a big time for the Pacers.
I thought it was their best shot at getting a win on the road in these first 2 games. This series is live, man. I think this series is live just because of the style in which the Pacers play. And look, Boston plays into how the Pacers want to play.
They did.
They're a high-volume three-point shooting team. This is not like a very physical team that beats you up with points in the paint. So they have some of these spells where they miss shots, man, and that feeds into how Indiana pushes the
15
tempo.
and 45 from 3, Jay.
That's what I'm saying.
Like you're not going to survive shooting 15 and 45.
That's how Boston plays. You live by the 3, you can die by it too.
Both teams attempted 99 field goals in this game. Now, it was overtime, so it was 53 minutes, not the regular 48, but that is a lot of shots.
The biggest number is the 32 points off turnovers, which the Pacers aren't a high turnover team. That's the other thing you expect them to clean up. We'll see if they can.
Well, also, it's a time that the Boston Celtics had off the layover between the first 2 rounds, right? Because you talk about Indiana coming off that Game 7, they were already hitting the ground running. That's why I feel like that was their best shot to get a win on the road. But you go back to Indiana, it's going to be a different story.
I'm just seeing that number for the first time. On ESPN Bet, the Celtics are an 8.5-point favorite in Game 2. That's a big number by NBA postseason standards. That's a very interesting. That suggests.
You taking that, Austin?
Which side of that would you like? None of these guys will bet, to be clear. But which side of that would you like?
I would take that bet.
You would take the Pacers.
Just
plus the 8.5.
Just due to the fact of that. You got guys after the game alluding, even after a win, Brown and Tatum talking about, man, we got to play better.